Around the NBA, we've seen in the past players get shamed for their lack of heart and passion and criticized for not having that competitive edge. Imagine being a 19-year-old kid being compared to players like MJ and Kobe and expected to live up to the expectation thrown at him. This player did go through some things, but got behind the right set of guys that guided him and motivated him to be a better player day in and day out. This is the Andrew Wiggins story. Andrew Christian Wiggins was born on February 23, 1995, in Thornhill, Canada, to mother Marita Payne Wiggins and father Mitchell Wiggins. Marita was an outstanding track and field sprinter who attended Florida State University and was also inducted into the Ontario Hall of Fame. Now his father, Mitchell, also attended Florida State University and from there went to the NBA, where his presence even helped the Houston Rockets win an NBA championship. Andrew would start playing basketball by age 9, but by age 13, Wiggins grew to be 6'6", already showing his astonishing athleticism. But Wiggins would end up attending Vaughan Secondary School in Thornhill, Ontario. But just within 2 years in, he led his team to a championship just as a sophomore, and they nearly went undefeated with a 49-1 record. The only loss they had that season was when Wiggins had to leave the game due to a leg cramp. But to tally it all off, by the end of his sophomore season, he would lead his team to an Ontario Federation of School Athletics Association title. This is where he put up 25 points in the last game while being the youngest player on the team. But now in 2011, this is where Wiggins transferred to Huntington Prep in West Virginia. And with his few seasons there, he averaged 24 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 steals, along with 3 blocks per game. And by this time, he went on to solidify the #1 spot to be the best player in the nation, while reeling in a ton of offers at that time. But by the end of his junior year, he was so good that he made the decision to reclassify up into the 2013 class and still managed to be the #1 player in the nation. He ended his high school career being awarded Mr. Basketball USA Gatorade National Player of the Year, along with winning the Naismith Trophy. He even went on to be a McDonald's All-American. He would receive some offers from schools like Kentucky, North Carolina, Florida State, and Kansas. This led the 5-star recruit to sign a letter of intent to play basketball at the University of Kansas. With his God-given athleticism, along with him being a 6'8" wing with a 44-inch vertical, he was able to lead Kansas to a 25-10 record. While playing alongside Joel Embiid, Wiggins just looked very poised, being able to get his shot off whenever he wanted to. He would go on to set the Kansas freshman single-season scoring record with 597 points during the 2013 season. He drew large crowds, and when watching him play, you would become intrigued by his athleticism. He was literally the human highlight reel. And by the end of his freshman season, there was a lot of speculation going around Wiggins being drafted the #1 pick. So that led Wiggins to enter the 2014 NBA draft. And he would do just that, going #1 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and would be the second #1 pick ever behind Anthony Bennett to be of the Canadian origin. But right shortly after, Wiggins and Bennett would be shipped to Minnesota in exchange for Kevin Love. Wiggins ended up making his debut on October 29, 2014 with the Minnesota Timberwolves and scored 6 points versus the Memphis Grizzlies. But really, he just needed to get the ball rolling a little because he would progress and went on to be a Rising Stars MVP and Rookie of the Year, finishing the season averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists per contest. He was just going to need to improve his efficiency going into his sophomore season. But with his fellow wing Zach LaVine on the Timberwolves, it seemed to be a future dominant 1-2 punch. And with the addition of Karl Anthony Towns the very next year, the organization as a whole was somewhat in a promising position by now. But going into Wiggins' second season, he increased his numbers to 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. And in the next couple of seasons, Andrew would improve his efficiency in points per game to 24 points during the 2016-17 season, which granted him a 5-year, $148 million max extension. But going into the 2017 NBA offseason, the Timberwolves would acquire Jimmy Butler. And from the outside looking in, it just looked like a great fit. But going into the very next season, Wiggins' production would waver and caused a lot of questioning and doubt around the organization. Jimmy started feeling underappreciated by the young core. He felt that some players on the team main priorities wasn't winning basketball games. He knew that they didn't have that grit and grind in them. And although Jimmy did lead them to the playoffs that year, that would actually be the highlight of the season. By this time, Butler wanted out of Minnesota and found his way in Philadelphia. This led the Timberwolves organization left with hopes on Wiggins regaining that momentum that he once had. But little did anyone know that those days were more so far-fetched in Minnesota. He struggled tremendously, shooting 41% from the field and 33% from 3. And by this time, it just looked as though he needed a brand new start on a new team. By the 2019-20 season, he did show signs of improvement, but it was just time for a change. And on February 7th, 2020, Wiggins would wind up getting traded to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for D'Angelo Russell. Andrew went on to finish his second half of the season with Golden State, averaging 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. You could just look at him and tell that he had a whole different type of aura about him. He really started to use his frame and athleticism and use those tools to become a two-way player. And with the Warriors missing the playoffs in the 2021 season, there was talk around Wiggins being moved somewhere else. But heading into the 21-22 season, Wiggins just kept adapting into his role more and more. With him already being 6'8", and with him having great mobility on defense, it made him able to stick with point guards and shooting guards at a very high level. And he's shown that he could guard positions 1 through 4. He managed to put up 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. But not only has he been able to become a first-time All-Star, he went on to become an All-Star starter. But he didn't stop there. He's even took it to the next level in the postseason. With the comeback of Clay, Wiggins has stepped up big on the defensive side and has really made it hard for his matchups throughout the playoffs. But in the finals, Wiggins really locked in, averaging 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists, showing all the doubters that he could be that second option on a championship caliber team. And the effort and determination that Wiggins was able to bring to the table throughout this whole postseason really made a difference and allowed him to experience his first championship, as he was able to contribute and help beat the Celtics in Game 5, reminiscent to how his father Mitchell came off the bench for the Rockets and helped lead his team past the Boston Celtics in the 1986 NBA Finals. When you look back on his 8 years he's played in the NBA and the narratives and expectations that has come his way, the fact that he was not only able to prove that he could be trusted and someone you could count on in the finals goes to show that determination and hard work does pay off. And as he approaches year 9, it's safe to say that Wiggins is far from done, and the championship veteran DNA of the Warriors has definitely motivated Wiggins to be where he is today.
You are now a champion. How does that compare?
Glory to God. You know, this is a dream come true.
Wouldn't be here without my teammates and, everyone around me. So I'm just enjoying the moment. I'm loving it.
And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Andrew Wiggins story.